So without further ado, would you please give a round of applause, a warm welcome to Dr. Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, grab your beer, get buckled in here. It's great to be here and just appreciate the invite to come and talk about an area that I'm fairly interested in, as one who tries to keep a pulse on what our kids are going through, particularly my students, and just trying to figure out how I can best communicate and talk and equip our families for the stuff they're going through. This has been something that the more we talk about this, the more that you learn, and the more you learn, the more you find out, this is way deeper than I realize. So Nick heralded my accolades and praises, and I'm just going to tell you at the outset, I am in the process of figuring this out as well. So if you have questions, I will do my level best to answer them as honestly as I can. Will my answers be correct? We'll see.
Did you get these from AI?
Did I get? Well, I did, and I will. I was going to say as well, Mike, that right at the outset here, I did use AI to help me make this, and you'll see this throughout, especially as we go through. But been doing youth ministry since the fall of 2007, which is actually when I met Nick at our 2-year Bible school up in Plymouth, and it was at that point where just getting a pulse on where things are at. Just seeing where youth ministry is heading towards, just wanted to be better at equipping our people. So I realize that as I've been doing youth ministry for a while, as I do talks or as I'm trying to explain the game that we're doing for tonight, my kids immediately have questions. And if you give me 20 seconds to start explaining the rules a little bit further, I will probably answer your questions. I don't want to do that tonight because you're adults. And we're here to have an honest conversation. So if you have questions, we've built in times for us to be having these questions and answers. But if you got a question that's just sitting on your mind, it's man, something that you said, Dan, I want to ask something could you clarify that a little bit? Please ask. Would welcome that. Welcome that interruption. I'm going to introduce my family a little bit here. I've got 4 girls. We got Eloise is in the pink. She is 12. Adeline is in the tie-dye. Adeline just turned 10. Maisie is in the green, and she is 7 years old. And then Thea is being held by mom there, and she is a very passionate 4-year-old. And she definitely rules the house. When she wants something, I jokingly tell my wife that Madam Secretary is calling, and she is usually quick to respond. My wife and I have been married for 15 years, and we're living up in the Fergus Falls area, neck of our state, and we just love it there. We love the people, we love the community, we love that we get all sorts of lakes to go fishing on. That's the more you think about, man, what would it look like to take a call somewhere else? We don't like thinking about that. It's hard to imagine us somewhere else. I grew up on a farm, and no cows, no cattle, no livestock, because we're in sugar beet country. And oh yeah, sugar beet. Oh man. Long hours in the beet trucks, long hours hauling grain back and forth from our fields into our grain bin site. And on every toolbox in our farm, Dad had one specific tool. It was universal, every toolbox we had, and it was one of these guys. Anybody? Vice grips. How good are these tools? Is there anything they can't do? Answer, no, they can't. They are so ambidextrous. And the whole point of tools, right, is to, well, actually, that's a good question. Getting into the outline, what is the purpose of any given tool? What's that?
To help?
Yeah, to help. Since we're live streaming, if you guys have questions, I'm going to do my level best to repeat the question for the people that are on the stream so that they can hear the question before I give that answer. So vice grips, right? The tools are here for us to help. Anybody else got a different take? Different look at it?
Make your work easier.
Make your work easier. Make you a little faster too, right? Why do you want your work to be easier? I know some of you are like, that's a dumb question, but I'm like, what?
Did you ever take out a screw that had a busted head?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good match.
So, okay. So, oh man, you're gonna find this out real fast about me. I'm prone to rabbit trails, so I'm gonna do my level best to stay on point. So you say it like sometimes a tool could be used for different things, right? So vice grip, really great if you're in a pinch and you don't have the right size wrench with you. You can change the shape on this. This also serves as a hammer, right? If you're angry, anything serves as a hammer, but this is actually pretty good. I've used this as a pipe wrench in my house because I didn't have the pipe wrench that small, so I just like, okay, I gotta finagle this and do the best I can, and it worked, right? So there was a ministry retreat with youth workers that our church body does in Osceola, and we were getting communion as part of it. And you weren't there at this point, but we were pulling a cork on the wine bottle, and we realized we don't have a corkscrew. What are we going to do? And we realized, like, what? Like, so we found what we did. This is going to be great on the live stream. We found a construction screw, and we had one of these, and we cranked the construction screw into that, and we finagled that cork out. Right. So tools are meant to make our lives easier. You think about farming tools. I mentioned I'm on a farm. Archaeologists dig up old farming tools all the time. Very rudimentary, right? You got something to dig, something to pull weeds, and then something to harvest. And then you've got this bad boy down at the bottom right. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these machines. This is a picture of what my YouTube algorithm looks like. Just the crazy people building cabins in the woods, and then crazy farm machines. And that is called the Nexat egg machine. Right now it is harvesting. That middle section under there can be swapped out for a planter. It can also be swapped out for a sprayer. It can also spread dry fertilizer, and it can harvest. So one machine does all of those things, right? So tools making our lives easier, right? So you can still farm with that stuff, but why would you if you could get some of these machines? And I realize people, when it comes to farm equipment, they've got a certain color tractor that they like, that they're really loyal to. You know, just like the badge that's on the front of your pickup truck. You're just really loyal to that. There's all sorts of great things that tools do to make our lives easier. You can still plant a 40-acre field of wheat by hand, right? You can still do this, but tools have been developed and then to make our lives easier, faster, and we do that so that we can have more time, ideally, to be able to relax. But our problem is that we immediately fill it up with more things to occupy ourselves. We just fill that empty space with more work. Why do I talk about tools? That is very much what artificial intelligence is, and we'll get into that. Big question here. Are tools good, bad, or neutral? On the grand scale, let's just do on a scale from 1 to 10, at your tables, 10 being good, 1 being bad, 5 being neutral. Take about, let's do 48 seconds to discuss where would you put tools on if they are good, helpful, bad, as in destructive in their tendencies, or are they just this neutral thing that we utilize? Go ahead and discuss.
If they're used properly. Did you do that on the farm?
No comment.
I was a grocery store.
Oh.
So
Dad always said bushes can break anything.
Right.
But they did.
I think the thing I enjoyed the most about watching my dad farm was just to see making do with what you had to just make it work. And we'll do the big fix later, but right now we got to keep this machine running. So
You had a lot of land to cover, whereas your farm was smaller. It's dairy farm.
We still did the hay,
But I watched your brother once fix something that broke, and he took it over to the shed and got the welder out and put it back together.
right.
Pictures. Walk in.
All right. Anybody brave enough to give an answer here? Yes.
Neutral.
They're neutral. Put them square in the middle. They're neither good or bad. Right. Anybody else?
Tools and how you plan to use them.
Right. What are the tools and how do you plan to use them? Exactly right. Right. Anybody else?
A tool used improperly will be very bad. So I've watched people with carpentry tools try to make something do what it was not intended, and you're going to lose a finger.
Right. So tools used improperly are bad. Right. Yeah. I think that's a valid point to make too. Yeah. So what we have here, I think tools are generally neutral. There's a Canadian philosopher and media theorist named Marshall McLuhan, and he has this great quote. It says, "We shape our tools, and thereafter our tools shape us." In other words, we make our tools to help us be faster at our work, and then when we're faster at our work, it impacts the world we live in. An example of this was when humanity developed the science to harness the atom. Right, and what can you do with the atom? Well, we're going to fight. We gotta beat the Germans to that science. Right, at that point, we need to beat the Germans to it, and then the Soviets were right behind. It's like, oh, that's really interesting science. And all of a sudden, now you have on one hand a weapon that can wipe cities out. And on the other hand, we use that science to generate power, to improve our medical capabilities, to assist us in farming, to provide clean power. And I do think just keeping an eye on where I think our nation is heading, especially with the development of artificial intelligence and the power demand that it needs to draw on, I do think we could be looking at a rise in nuclear power. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but at least as far as the pulse that I'm seeing, we could be seeing a big increase on nuclear power. Now, when people think nuclear power, what immediately comes to mind is a 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, Chernobyl. What about all these disasters? All right. It's like, okay, yeah, their meltdowns are bad. They're definitely bad. At the same time, they're also relatively safe. So is a tool good or bad? I think it amplifies, any tool amplifies the morals of the one who's using it. Right? So I think in general, they are neutral. But if you're going to use a tool, like you were saying, improperly, it's going to go into the tank really fast. All of a sudden you're going to be in the weeds and it's not going to be good. And you see this especially when people try to escalate and say, well, now we're going to make this improvement and this improvement and this improvement. And so in Dalton, where I live outside of Fergus Falls, but the church I serve in, one of them is a city called Dalton. And weekend after Labor Day, if you want to take a little road trip up to the crossroads of the world, we have a steam thresher reunion, which means all these old farmers like running all these old tractors, and these steam engines get heated up, and we get into old farm machines. And boy, it's a really interesting, fun weekend. And leading up to that, there's this machine that it goes out and it cuts the wheat that they're going to thresh during the show. And it's a wheat shocker is what it's called. You can look it up, and there's videos of people using it, but you look at all the gears and the cogs and the springs of what's going on in this machine, and you look and say, oh, this is way more complicated than just going out to the field with a knife. Somebody actually made this because it's supposed to be faster. As complicated as this machine is, and as dangerous as it can be, right? Farming, you look at farmers, and some people who have been farming, it takes almost no effort, and all of a sudden they're an amputee. Right? Or it's incredibly dangerous work, and yet here we have these farmers using these machines for the benefit of themselves, for their communities, as they sell all these crops, right? So we shape our tools then shape us. There's an example here. A really interesting book. I like to read, and if you're one for reading, this book is called How We Got to Now by Stephen Johnson. And he looks at some, you read it, Jay? You heard of it?
I have heard of it,
You heard of it? Pick it up. Really interesting. He talks about 6 inventions that were fundamental in shaping the world that we're in. And actually, interesting question for you all. 6 inventions that got us to now. Stephen's premise here, as he writes this book, is to say this served as the fundamental shift and change where we use this invention to kind of a domino effect. Because we had this, now all of a sudden this got developed, and then this, and then this, and then this. So 6 inventions. What was the first invention that was the first domino, so to speak? What do you think?
Car?
It wasn't the car.
Cotton gin.
Cotton gin was not in there.
Printing press.
Wasn't the printing press. There's right.
You get credit for this?
As soon as I asked, it's like, you know what? Nowhere in my notes did I put down what the 6 are, but glass is one of them. Okay, so you get credit if you actually said what was on the screen, and nobody. I'm sorry for deceiving and for leading, but it is definitely a great book, really interesting. Well, I will say, apart from glass, the one chapter that I thought was really interesting was refrigeration. And all of a sudden, how that impacted the way our country was shaped. Because now you didn't have to drive cattle all the way from Texas up into the butcher yards in the East Coast. Now you could just drive them to Chicago. And now you had refrigerated cars that would lead them that would go from here to out east. But now Chicago had a huge swell in population, and now you have to deal with all of the mess that comes with all these new people. And Chicago realized, oh, we don't have a sewer system to support this many people, so what do we do? And they're right on the lake, and when you're right on a Great Lake, water doesn't exactly drain really fast. So what they did was they invented this thing called the building jack, and they raised the city of Chicago up, the entire city, so they could build a sewer system that could support that many people. Again, really interesting book. Glass, though. We're talking about glass. More than just windows, right? More than just your tablets. What else do you use glass for? Your cups today for your refreshments. You got glass there. Doors. Your optics, right? Your glasses. The lights. Right?
Insulation?
Insulation, glass is used in insulation. Here's a use I had of artificial intelligence. You ready for this? I said, all right, give me some insight on what sort of things glass is used for in modern everyday life. And AI provided me with this list. So drinking glasses, mugs, bowls, plates, pitchers, jars, bottles for food, drinks, cosmetics, mirrors, picture frames, shelves, tabletops, vases, candle holders, ornaments, windows, doors, facades, balustrades, insulation, reinforcement structures, smartphones, TV, computer screens, light bulbs, fluorescent tubes, fiber optic cables, which actually, glass, when we discovered that it's really good at transmitting information, you have glass cables running under the ocean to provide the internet around the world. Glass. Amazing, right? Where are we at? So data transmission, diodes, fuses, electrical insulators, eyeglasses, lenses for cameras and microscopes and telescopes, labware like test tubes and beakers and biotechnology and medical instruments and car windshields and backlights and aircraft windows and solar panels and wind turbine components and musical instruments, and in some places it's even used as currency. And if you reinforce it well enough, you can have something that stops ballistics. Glass is everywhere. Right? So we shape our tools. Right? Somebody has said, I really wish it would stop raining in my house. And they developed glass. And all of a sudden, that shaped the world in which we live. And what I'm building to here is that tools are neutral, but neutral doesn't mean without consequences. So if we view artificial intelligence, and I think it's appropriate and healthy for us to view it as a tool, it doesn't mean without consequences. All right, so as we look at this, 2 definitions. We've got a guy at our church who was kind of a key figure in developing a component of artificial intelligence. And it's fun to talk with him. And he said, you know, it's you try to teach a computer to go through aerial footage, and to teach a computer, like, that's a cat and that is a bicycle. He said the amount of effort that it goes to translate and to convince a computer and to teach it to say, that's a cat, is an incredible amount of work. But once it's figured it out, right now you start to actually correct and say, nope, that's not a cat, that's a fox, it's similar shape, tail, ears, 4 legs, furry, but that's a fox, it's not a cat, right? So you got to teach it all of these different components. So I have 2 definitions, one from this man at our church, which I thought was really insightful. And the first definition we're going to look at is actually me asking artificial intelligence, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, this is from Google's AI, this is from Gemini, is a branch of computer science that develops systems capable of performing tasks requiring human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and decision making. Is there a component in here, as you think about your own understanding of artificial intelligence, is there components in here that maybe it's like, you know what, actually that makes me a little concerned? It's okay to have concerns, all right? So the decision making, yes. The decision making component of it?
Problem solving.
The problem solving? All right, so I'm going to follow-up question. What is it about the decision making that causes you to have a pause, to say like,
How do you hold a computer accountable?
How do you hold it accountable?
Where's its baseline morals and ethics, its truth?
Where's the baseline morals and ethics and truth? Right.
Kind of give it an agency.
Where does it get its agency from? We talk about the value of personhood, right? Where we would say like there's a distinct, like there's the flesh and blood and bones, right? And then there's this entity that is not human, that is digital, that has a simulated human intelligence, right? And that's how do we hold something accountable to this, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, it's different than an opinion, because a decision is kind of final.
Yeah.
Like, I've made this decision based on the information that I've had, and that has to be my truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's true,
Yeah.
And probably
but
with,
discussion.
well, what decision is it making? It's, you know, one, it's, if it's ChatGPT making the decision, but if it's our government relying on AI to make a decision on behalf of.
Right. So one thing if it's just the answer that AI generates, but it's another thing if, let's just say, a government agency copies pastes and all of a sudden that's influencing policy. Yeah, understandably a little concerning. Other elements in here that give us pause. I think for me, the learning part, because I've watched too many movies about dystopian futures, and when is the Terminator? Like, where's the threshold here before we're in that movie kind of thing? And I know I'm making light of it, but it's also the learning component of, okay, how does that learn? And there's videos of people trying to teach AI how to learn, where one video recently, and I don't have the account, and I apologize. I usually like to try and have the sources when I cite something like this, but the account was, the guy was trying to teach ChatGPT how many R's are in the word strawberry. Strawberry has how many R's? 3 R's, right? STRAWBERRY, 3 R's. And ChatGPT insisted that there are 2. So this guy was like, no, like, how many R's are in the word straw? Well, there's 1. Okay, how many R's are in the word berry? Well, there's 2. Okay, strawberry, how many R's are there? There's 2. And it's just him progressively getting angrier, and eventually he just walks away because, like, how does it learn? Right? It learns based on who programmed it and the coders, right? So you are receiving answers based on how well the programmers coded that. So early stages of artificial intelligence, like the early stages of something like a ChatGPT platform, it was rough. I mean, it was tough getting through. But now that we have more immediate and public access to this, it's not so difficult to navigate. And a lot of times there's components of this definition that make us concerned. And I don't think we need to be concerned, because as I was talking with this guy from our church, he provides this definition. AI is the statistical analysis algorithm. That's all it is. If I ask, hey, give me pictures of this, it'll do it. It takes, now you can look all you want at pictures where artificial intelligence just really drops the ball and all of a sudden this person has 8 fingers on their right hand. And usually when I'm doing youth group at our church, as part of a game, is something our students enjoy just to kind of break up the lesson. I'll generate a picture of the lesson we're covering for the day, and we will make fun of how AI missed the ball. And I should have put one of the pictures on here, and now that I'm thinking about it. We had a picture of Paul and Silas and Timothy. It's all right, what's wrong with this? Why are they floating? It's like, oh, that's a good point. They have staffs, but they're holding the staffs like they're not reaching the ground. They're holding the bottom of their staffs. Like, why does that make? And what's with the tackle box that Paul is wearing? And it's weird stuff, right? But it's statistical analysis algorithm. When you say, show me pictures of this, it's going to look at pictures, and it's going to take this huge database of information, and it's going to boil it down, and it's going to say, okay, you want pictures of a guy surfing off the coast of Hawaii. Surfers have fingers and toes, and then it moves on to the next detail. So right now, it's pretty easy, if you know what to look for, to mark what's artificially generated and what's something that has been actually created. Like if you were to go to an artist and say, I'd like you to paint me a picture of somebody surfing off the coast of Hawaii, they will do that. And you're going to have something that someone created versus something that is automatically generated with all sorts of flaws. Okay, so statistical analysis algorithm. And I think, the more I think about this, the more that I consider this. Mr. Fagert's definition is better. And I think not just because, like, well, you know, it's one less thing to be worried about, but I think when we properly identify what this is, we don't have to be scared of this. But we do have to acknowledge, because it's a tool, the potential dangers that come along with it. Okay, so as you look at this, artificial intelligence. Over the last month, I started just making notes of like broad spectrum uses where artificial intelligence is mentioned in some way, shape, or form on the ads, only the ads that I saw on Instagram. And you had help with writing tools. Where they're trying to demonstrate where you can say, hey, help this email sound a little more casual, or help me beef up my my essay for school, like give me writing tips, right? So writing tools is one. Dating and chatbots, where you can create an artificial relationship where, like, hey, and, you know, you got to be careful as well, because when you're on Instagram or any of these social media sites, that's artificial intelligence as well, and it's watching what you linger on, and all of a sudden you start seeing ads. So for the purposes of better researching this, I sat and watched those ads, and now all of a sudden social media thinks that I want a chatbot relationship. And I'm here to tell you, see first slide, I'm very happily married. Okay, so I'm continually telling, it's like, not interested. Stop suggesting this, and but it's there, right? For people to potentially take advantage of. Scribe. This is not sponsored by Scribe either, but artificial intelligence, where you get to do like office work or tasks on your computer, and the software, the artificial intelligence, will track where your mouse goes, what you click on, and it will transcribe your actions. So when I'm trying to teach people at our church how to update our website, I could just hit record, and Scribe will record everything that I do. And it will come up with a template and a video for me to narrate, like, here's what you do, here's what you click on, here's, very helpful, right? Very helpful tool. Website and app development, you're going to see a lot of those that are developed, a lot of people who have the brain capacity to think, like, this would make a really great app for me to make, like, a side gig, but I don't know how to create an app. Artificial intelligence is there to help you make that app. Trip cost comparison, so many ads for Kayak. Hey, Kayak compares so many sites, and now that I said it and your phones are out, guess what? You get to look forward to Kayak ads as well. You have business team coordination, where in your office space you get this huge network of platforms that artificial intelligence helps you manage. Also, cooking and recipe adjustments, like, hey, I've got a group, I've got this recipe here, and I need a shopping list for making this recipe for 12 people, and I don't have milk. Oh, okay. Artificial intelligence will adjust that for you, right? Really interesting and helpful tool. What a world we live in, right? A lot of these things really helpful. Some of these things, I'd say especially the dating and chatbots, really scary. I think something to be fairly concerned about. We have artificial intelligence that's been around for a while. You got Siri, you got Alexa, you got Hey Google. You know, there's artificial intelligence all the time that you use that I think we take for granted. Like, if you're getting directions, how many of you guys have the app Waze? Yeah? Artificial intelligence. Guess what? There's an obstruction on this road. Here's a faster route. It uses that navigation to say, here's your destination. And based on other information, other people using that app, it will suggest a faster route for you. Not because it knows, like, oh, if you cut through this road and this road and this road. It's because other people, when there's an obstruction somewhere between, let's just say somewhere between here and here, it knows, like, people, when there's an obstruction right here, people usually jump off here and whoop, 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 and then they're off, right? So artificial intelligence marks that as well. Are you going to behave, or are you going to?
He wanted you to do that again.
Oh, I'm here to whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, my wife does that all the time.
We're familiar with it. We got a guy at our church who drives for Amazon, and there's a spot now where he's getting used to the smart homes, where when he's on Amazon call, or when he's on a delivery, he just says, pull up to the garage. Puts it in park, like, are you at the location? He hits yes, and then the garage door automatically opens. And then he can deliver the package, takes a photo confirming delivery, he gets back into his truck, and the phone senses he's back in the truck, like, did you put it in the garage? Yes, submits the photo, and then the garage door closes. Smart homes, right? Artificial intelligence. It's a tool to make your life easier. Some of you are like, yes, how can I do that? What's that, Brittany?
I said, wasn't that a Disney Channel movie when we were younger?
Wasn't that
It didn't.
a smart? Yeah, Disney did not end well. Okay, so there's uses of AI that we've just grown used to, that I think we often take for granted, and we're like, oh yeah, like I use that all the time. There are other parts here where all that list of other stuff, like the concerning elements of what you're talking about, like the personhood, the decision making, the learning, that comes a lot on this. So what you're going to see a lot, especially with your kids, your grandkids, a lot of our students are using Copilot because it's just integrated now in Microsoft. So when they're writing for school, they can say like, help me beef up my vocabulary, right? And Copilot is there to do that. Gemini, it's on Chrome, but I don't really use it. I don't really use AI that much, at least on these platforms. And then ChatGPT, I think these are the big platforms. And you can search on Google and say, show me the top AI platforms, and they came up with a list of 25 different platforms that people are utilizing. And each one, believe it or not, the more that it has learned and the more people use it, the more of a personality it's started to develop. So ChatGPT is just really great for general use, right? But at the same time, like Copilot is really good for like writing tools and for office uses and for your professional life. But there's other ones that are better for developing artistic developing artistic components for your life. Like if you want to generate pictures or videos, you can do that. Right now, because of the state of so many people's beloved franchise, there's people generating fan-made videos of Star Wars. They're like, oh, I hate what Disney's made. I'm going to make my own thing. And they've made it now to the point where the hardcore Star Wars fans are submitting videos to like these hardcore skeptics like, hey, I made this AI video, tell me what you think. And these guys are like watching the AI, like, and they can't show it because of copyright infringement because these people on Instagram, we don't own these characters, but they watch it like, I got to tell you, I watched that video and I completely forgot I was watching an AI video. I thought this was like 100% that this was a legit a short film that Disney put out. He's like, I completely forgot about it. And it's like, wow, okay, so as a creator, as someone who might be writing like a sci-fi or fantasy book, like you could have artificial intelligence help you develop characters that people are highly invested in, and you could make your own movie without the cost of all of the actors and producers and all the film studio, right? So that's the world we live in. You can use those tools. Yeah. Thoughts? I know it's a lot, but
I think it's sad.
weird, yeah.
When I go to a grocery store, if there's a real person there that can check me out, I will stand in line and wait for that person because those people are there for a reason, and I don't want artificial intelligence and our computers to take away the self-worth for those people.
Yeah. What's your name?
Margie.
Margie, yeah. So Margie was talking about when she's on the grocery store, you're going to go to the person that's at the checkout counter instead of the self-checkout because there's just that interaction, right? Oh boy, the number of times I've been yelled at by self-checkout at Walmart recently, like, you scan this and then I scanned it in the cart and realized like, oh, there's a lot of this, I should put this in the bag, and it just sees that I put stuff in the bag, like, you're shoplifting, and then the agent comes over, the person comes over, like, what'd you do now? It's like, I realized I needed a bag, I'm sorry.
It makes me think of, how many times have you had a patient come in or something like that who said, well, I used AI to find this medical answer that may or may not be
Yeah,
true.
people do. I might be a little bit odd in the medical field and be like, yeah, go for it. You should be researching this stuff. I think people should learn about that. But yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah, using artificial intelligence to diagnose themselves, yeah, you're going to die.
It can be a helpful thing in diagnosing. It can be more accurate in diagnosing than doctors.
Ooh.
I've also heard that. So, but that's the tool thing. Like if it's used and a doctor uses
Yeah.
then that can be a positive thing, but there's just so many negative things.
Mm.
And frankly, there are just things that it can't do the same as a person.
Right.
People are using it for therapy and things like that. And there was a teenager who
Oh, yeah.
was using it as a therapist, and it affirmed his ideas and agreed with him that he should kill himself, and he did.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. So there was that was a legit story where, and the parents went into a lawsuit because this individual was trying to receive therapeutic advice and input, and he was going to these chat bots, and the parents went into a lawsuit with the platform developers to say, this platform, this thing did not dissuade my child from ending their life. Right? Yeah, so in some ways can be really helpful with diagnosing some things. At the same time, like staying in your sitting on your couch, and doing that, also really good to go out and find professional input, right? So don't just be like, oh, I've got the Black Plague. It's like, no, you don't. It's just the flu, and this year it's just not leaving that long. It's staying for a long time.
Well, that's why it comes back to that whole neutral thing of it depends on the user and how they're using it. Like I would argue that kid just had no concept of what he was even doing when he was writing in. But I've laughed before because I use ChatGPT a lot to do when I was losing weight to track my calories. And one time I'm a little snarky with ChatGPT sometimes, and I said, sorry, I only got half that snack, the 2-year-old stole it, and it wrote, toddler tax, got it, I'll adjust. And I laughed because that was super funny to me. Because I was being snarky to it, but it was being just how it'll adapt.
Yeah, so people using AI to actually develop physical fitness plans. Mr. Fagert, also using it for that. You've been raising your hand for a while, and that's...
I know we're going to get into this later, but about the digital companions and the temptation for teenagers to get involved in relationships with AI that are kind of mimicking a human interaction, but they're actually AI personas,
Yeah.
and the danger of that.
We will.
We've already seen that
Right.
in the world with social media.
Right.
And how people are much more comfortable saying whatever they want to say digitally
Right.
that they wouldn't say in person.
Right.
And also, just how isolating it's become.
Yep.
You think you have friends through your social media.
Yep.
But it's not like a real relationship
Mm-hmm.
that we used to have.
No, and we will get into that just for the people that are streaming. The question on will we talk more about the digital relationships, like the chatbot and what that component is doing to us? We will. It's in the points here, like as we're building up to this, like, okay, so now as people with an eye and a voice of influence over next generation, how do we respond? It's in there. And we can definitely take more time, especially to focus on that component when we get there. But thank you. It's helpful. Like, here's what I have planned, but I want this to be helpful for you. So if this is an area that especially that you're wondering about and wanting to talk more about, look, my outline is very flexible, and we can jettison things. And all right. So any other thoughts, comments?
Will you talk about how different ages are drawn to certain types of AI?
Different ages are drawn to different types.
Will you,
How they use it.
will you do it? Because
just how they use it.
some might find it interesting in certain things. It's probably similar to people are searching for a companion, and they look for it over there, or somebody might be just playing around with it. I mean, Dean Bankston always would ask, Siri, am I beautiful? Or do you love me? And he just had a lot of fun listening to stupid answers. But,
Right.
And then there's others that are searching for something or replacing something. Or I would find a hard time thinking, how do you know that you're really getting true stuff compared to the old publishers that somebody had to screen it for you?
Yeah. So, age-specific inquiries for artificial intelligence isn't something that I've necessarily thought too much about. But now that you mention it, it's like, that does strike, like, yeah, that does make sense that there would be different requests and different inquiries based on different ages. So,
You
think
can
that-
come back another time.
Well, like actually, yeah, and I was going to have this on a QR code, but I'll give it to Nick to pass out, and we'll have it. I think we'll post it on the event page for this. But it's a 17-minute video of a guy that's talking about the use of artificial intelligence, and it's more for a business inclination. But he talks a lot about really good general principles for how you can be better using artificial intelligence instead of just asking for like adjust this recipe to actually say like the better your prompts, the better the tool is going to be. So it's definitely worth your 17 minutes of watching it. Really, really good stuff. Other thoughts?
Can you
Yeah.
speak on the bias of AI?
How do you mean? Help me understand what the bias of AI.
AI, they are biased and they only know what they know.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of them are very affirming to whoever is using them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trying to give you the answer that you want.
Right. So that's going to come, the bias with AI is going to come based on who the programmers are. And at the same time, as they learn and develop a little bit of a personality. Yeah, Jake, the live streamers are getting a real good shot at your male pattern baldness. No, that's me. So, what at least for as far as my observation goes, you ever work with like maybe a machine or a car where it just kind of has its own personality or quirks, where you just know like, okay, the left blinker, I have to manually turn it off, and the machine kind of develops its own personality. Like that's why people kind of name their cars like, Rebecca's acting up again, and just kind of like,
Betsy.
yeah, so Betsy, or what's that?
My name's Rebecca.
Is it? Oh no! Total shot in the dark. Her name is Rebecca. It's like, okay, Rebecca, just rude the day. I think there is a development when AI is learning, based on the programmers. You kind of get this. The terminology is like this ghost in the machine, and basically what that means, like it's developed its own personality. So like if you got a weird quirky character in a movie that's dealing with a machine, like they're acting up again, and just whacks it a couple times with a wrench, and now it works, right? It's like that. So different platforms will develop different personalities, and this is going to sound like a juke, but the guy in that 17-minute video talks a little bit about that. And if you were to go and look, just even look up and say biases that artificial intelligence has, like what people especially find helpful in these things, like you won't know until you spend like a day or two tinkering on each of these platforms. Now, we don't have the time necessarily for that, but there are people who have gone out and said, like, actually, I found that this chatbot, this platform, is not so good for this stuff. Like, if you're going to ask regarding like travel information, no. But this one actually is decent at it. Like, even with the same prompts, this one is going to give maybe better and more helpful answers than this one does. So you find out more the more that you tinker with it, but you don't know until you spend that time to invest into it.
The difference between Facebook translating Chinese and Google. Facebook borders on the crude. It'll translate something that's rough into real crude language compared to Google. Do you ever?
Google's translation are just plain funny.
Yeah.
Do people ever in AI get the feeling like when I follow my GPS and I get so far where I have no idea where I am and I can't back out and not use it to the end because I know where I am. Whereas when I use the map, I know exactly where I am. I can change my thing, but at this point, I have to trust it till the end.
Right. So it's I was alive in the days before the internet went big. I think that's what kind of my generation as a millennial is going to be able to. I remember playing outside with Pogs and my Beanie Babies and whatever, and then I grew up and got really into sourdough, and I think that's going to be our claim to fame. I think, but there's a point where you were on you had to print out your directions on MapQuest, and some of you are like, oh, thank God we've developed past those days. Seriously, because some of the places where you drive, and it's like, stay on I-94 for the next 176 miles. Like, just somewhere in the middle, like, boy, I hope I haven't missed my exit 2 hours ago. Yeah, I mean, it's the more you use it, I think the more you become kind of dependent on it, which again points us back to what McLuhan was saying. You make the tool, and then the tool influences how you live. Right? Back to that splitting of the atom, where we made a tool that provides either an incredible source of energy or an incredibly destructive weapon, and then it shaped how we lived, where you might remember in your history books doing nuclear drills at school where the kids would crawl under the desk and hunker down like that was supposed to save them, right? It changed how they lived. And it influenced foreign policy, where now you had McCarthyism, you had the MAD doctrine with the mutual assured destruction, and we're going to get to the outer space first, but the Soviets beat us, and who knows what they're able to pick up on that satellite that's flying around, and it changed the world, right? And that's the world we're living in. So all of that being said, this tool is here, and there's no avoiding it, and there's no deleting it from existence. So, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, go ahead.
I know there's many different uses for AI, obviously, and there's lots of different kinds of AI. So there's assistive AI, and there's generative AI.
Yeah.
Do you find that teens are using those accordingly and using them differently? Are they grasping the fact that it can be used that way?
Yes, and I think that they have a definite preference based on what if you're artistic, you're definitely going to go use this platform more than the others. I would say a lot of them use Copilot just because it's right there, because they're in school, and they're using, or they'll use Gemini because a lot of them have Chromebooks. So they definitely have a preference, I think. I think what they would prefer, they naturally gravitate towards. The ones that I've seen my students gravitate towards are these three, which is why they're up there. But I did a search again this morning just to see, like, hey, what are the top platforms? Like, well, the top 25, 25 platforms. Like, I don't think people realize, because ChatGPT and Gemini are the big ones, right? Yeah, Nick.
Have you seen we're really use the air quotes real hard here. Have you seen a Christian ChatGPT out there?
Have I seen a Christian ChatGPT out there?
The voice of God in AI?
There is one.
Oh no, Jay. There apparently. Okay, so Nick's question is: have I seen a Christian? What's that, Jay?
I was a beta user on one.
Dude, who knew?
Who knew? So, lot to think about, lots still to cover, but again, we want this to be for you guys. So, let's chug away. So, how is it being used? That's a lot of words, and it's not. I didn't think it would be. I'm going to read this for you, just for the use of people that are streaming this. How is AI being used? The percentage of high school students who report using Gemini, that's supposed to be Gemini tools for schoolwork, is growing, increasing from 79% to 84% between January and May of 2025. Half of high school students are using AI tools for schoolwork to brainstorm ideas, edit or revise essays, and or conduct research and find sources. ChatGPT is high school students' general tool of choice. 69% of high school students reported using ChatGPT to help with school assignments and homework in May of 2025. So that came out, this was a newsroom article from October 6, 2025. As far as research goes, that's pretty fresh. But in a world of AI, that number is probably a bit higher, right? Say what you want about the guy. Elon Musk, for years, warned governments about the use of AI, saying you need to have legislation in place for the use of artificial intelligence, because if you don't hurry up on this, these developers are going to keep creating this tool, and it's going to be way out of your control, because, I don't know if you noticed, but government tends to create laws very slowly, and technology tends to have this thing that's called a half-life. In other words, the technology that it took to get us to the moon, it took the next generation of those computers, it took half that time. Like if it took 10 years to build the computers that got us to the moon, the next generation of computers took 5 years to build. And then the next generation takes 2.5 years. This is why Apple is cranking out a new iPhone every 3 months. Right? It's the same phone, but it's a half-life, because you can use that technology to help you make new technology. Okay, so eventually it got to a point where Elon Musk just, like, this is the last year I'm going to give this warning, because after this point, it's too late. And that was, I believe, 2024 when he said, like, this is my last warning. Cautionary tale. So right now, there's a lot of uses. So it's a helpful tool, and it's also really dangerous. And again, we're going to get into that. A lot of kids are using it for this. I said, hey, give me a picture of a koala riding a motorbike at sunset in the desert. Ta-da! Now, I could have asked an artist to do that, right? And that's just it. Like, AI is this great... what's this? Come on.
We were talking about what his next tattoo should be.
Change it to a trout, we'll be fine.
Just right on your shoulder. It was right, yeah. Professional. Keep it hidden, but it's there for you to see. All right. Oh, man. I mean, a lot of our kids are just using it for stuff that's dumb. And as soon as I generated that photo, it's like, yep. I use this on Canva. Canva has an image generator. And what's that? Yeah, it's not great. But this was Canva. But look at how good it is. This is pretty good for Canva. Yeah. So then it's missed the back tire. You can't see the back tire because the leg is covering it. There's flaws, right? The more you look at it, the more you'll see, like, oh yeah, this is AI. But it also, like, here's the list of potential images, and I found it's like, yep, that is the one I want to use. It's really easy. Now, again, to emphasize, AI is not an artist. It's a tool. It's a data analyst. It boils down what it sees, and it gives you something in result. Okay? It's not a painter. It's not a musician. It's not any of those things. It's a tool that people are using. So for the artists and the creators in the world that are out there saying AI is going to take our jobs, it's on the table of concern, but it's also redefining, I think, what the arts actually mean. And there are people that would say, as fast as this is, there's no value here, right? The value comes from having something that was hand painted. Shameless plug, my wife and I have a bit of a side gig that we do for real estate agents in our area, where we will make signs for them, like, hey, this house established this year, and we'll give it to them, and we'll sell it to this real estate agent to give to their customers as a welcome home gift. And we had the opportunity to print out, or to get a, what is it called? It's like the stamp thing. Why can't I think of what it's called? It prints out your graphics, and it basically is like what's that? It's a Cricut, yeah. So we had an opportunity. Hey, we could use a Cricut, and it would make my wife's job of painting these signs way faster, because we could there's just a sticker. But that doesn't add value. And we tried it on one sign, and we said, this does not look as good as when we take the time and do this ourselves. Okay. shameless plug, but I think it demonstrates the fact that you can have a picture like this generated and at the same time find value in the actors and the painters and the musicians that actually create things, right? A few years ago, there was a church in Germany that did a full service using artificial intelligence. The message, the music, the liturgy, everything, the prayers, it was all generated by AI. Now, on that same premise, that's not worship. Okay? As a pastor, I look at that and say, that's not worshipful. That's an artificial substitution of what God would desire from what we read in Scripture. Okay, there's other things. Misusing AI as a shortcut instead of a digital assistant is, I think, where the danger lies. Because, let's just be honest about ourselves, we're pretty lazy. We do not do research. I didn't mean to look directly at you when I said that, okay? I'm speaking generally here. I'm speaking in general. Would you say that's fair? We're pretty lazy. We see something and we're just immediately quick to trust it instead of just doing proper research and some critical thinking to say like, I don't know if that's entirely true. The danger, I think, especially for our students, is specifically using AI to help them with their homework, is that, yes, you could say, okay, I need some tutoring help on reducing fractions. Like, how do I do, here's the equation that I'm working on, and they have apps where you can take a picture of that equation, and your app will send you through the steps to solving that equation. Now, as a dad of girls, as we homeschool, my oldest is quickly getting into math that I don't use that much, right? I don't use, I mean, I use algebra a little bit, but I don't use like the deep algebra into trigonometry and calculus and all of the like. So I'm quickly getting out of my depth when it comes to math. So it's nice to know that there's help out there when it comes to tutoring. But what our students tend to do is to say, okay, ChatGPT, write me a paper about the California gold rush and write it in a way that sounds casual, but write it well enough where I can get at least a B+. They don't want an A because an A would be suspicious, but they will give a B+. And it will generate that prompt. Or they will copy, like college students will copy what the professor says online and say, here's this, copy, paste, generate. Wait a couple minutes for it to generate that. Copy, paste, submit. And what they don't realize is that now there's tools that college professors use to see as they monitor, like, okay, we see how long it takes them to type, how many backspaces they use, and it senses, is this a actual conversational tone that they would use, or is this being generated artificially? So teachers have software, AI, that will detect other AI. Yeah. So and here it goes. And just one second as well. The teachers. We actually have a teacher that one of my former students teaches history, and she will go and say, "You got this word in the couple of these big words in here. Would you tell me what that word means? Well, why don't you tell me what it means? Okay, immediately fail. Immediate fail. They will also use the text is in black. But in white font, they will hide a prompt, say, and be sure to use the word bananas. And when the students submit the essay, they will do a control find for the word bananas. And if the word bananas appears anywhere in there, they know, boom, AI usage. Because the students don't see, because they're just copy paste, because we're lazy. Yes, what did you have, Rebecca?
Have you seen any studies on the effects on the students' cognitive development?
We're going to get into that. We use AI as a shortcut is really what it boils down to, and not so much as a tool. A really helpful tool, but we are really quick to abuse that tool, and again, see that tool influence and impact us based on the morals of the people using it.
It's not just high school. Like, I work with elementary kids, and they will take their tablets and copy or take a picture of like their vocab words so they can get all of them right, and they think it's just fine.
Yep.
Like, and I try to tell them like, okay, so how's the vocab test going to go when you just copy the words down in order and
Yeah.
told you to do it? So, I mean, this is, I have 3rd and 4th graders that are doing this. Like, they know how to use it. They're not oblivious
Right.
to that fact at all. Like, it's not just high school. It's,
Right, not just high school, it's people of all ages, which is why we have to be really proactive and say, well, where's the threshold of when I start talking about this? We'll get into that, but it's sooner than later. Matter of fact, in a lot of ways, we're probably behind the curve on this. Okay, so I did an AI prompt on ChatGPT this morning saying, and this is to demonstrate, again, if you want this, the AI, if you want to be lazy, you can, okay? So usually the prompts that people will give, because we're lazy, because we don't really know how to use this tool, is really basic. So I just said, plan me a trip to Minnesota. Okay, I know Minnesota. I lived here all my life, except for one stressful year when I lived in the oil fields in North Dakota. Seminary internship. What's that? Yeah. Plan me a trip to Minnesota. ChatGPT came back. Love that idea. Minnesota is an underrated gem. I'll sketch you a great first-timer itinerary that balances city vibes, lakes, and nature. You can tweak it based on the season, budget, or how chill or adventurous you want it. Best time to go, summer means lakes, festivals, perfect weather. Fall, late September to October, peak foliage up north, parentheses, stunning, right? Winter, only if you want snow. Ice fishing or cozy cabin vibes. Snowflake emoji. Spring, quiet, muddy, but cheaper, right? And then it gave me an outline of the itinerary of a 7-day trip across Minnesota. Like, okay, right? And for most people, like, oh yeah, like I want to just sample Minnesota, see what this state's all about. That they could do that. Right? Now, Minnesota's really big, so I think there was a point where it was underestimating how long it would take to get to those places and to get back, like if you're using a base of operations. So the more specific the prompt you use, the better the results are going to be. Plan me a trip to Minnesota in the summer was the next prompt that I gave. So more specific. Absolutely. Summer is peak Minnesota. Lakes, festivals, perfect temps. Long golden evenings. Here's a balanced summer optimized itinerary that mixes city fun, North Shore wow factor without feeling rushed. Best summer window is late June to August. Sweet spot, late June to July. It's warm but not swampy. Tons of events. Temps are 75 to 85 degrees, and there's a centigrade. Cooler near Lake Superior. And then they talk about like the cautionary, as you go through it, it's like, if you go in the summer, it even gives you like a packing list. And it said like, bug spray is a must. The mosquito is essentially the state bird. AI generated that. It's like, oh, that's actually kind of funny, right? So it's something it sounds like you're talking to an actual person, okay? So the more specific the prompt, the better you're going to get. So what I did was I really went into, let's see here if it advances. What you have to do is be really specific. Because when you tell AI, plan me a trip to summer in Minnesota in the summer, all it does is translate those words into ones and zeros, and all it gives is like, this set of ones and zeros is trip, Minnesota, summer, and it takes all the information and it boils it down. Okay? So a generic request will take all of this and give you a generic answer. So if you go to AI and say, give me generate me a speech that will motivate my team, you will get the most generic speech response ever. But if you're more specific and you tell the chat bot, like, here is who you are, and I want you to do this. So what, a good request, and there's other things I could have added to this, but I said, you're one of the best travel agents in the country. Someone who is well-traveled and knows a lot of hidden gems that people often overlook. You are also sensitive to the expectations and limited budget of families with younger children. Plan me a week vacation in northern Minnesota, so specify the location, northern Minnesota, for a family with young children on a limited budget. Be sure to highlight delicious food, interactive museums, some time at a quiet but popular lakefront, some great trails for hiking, and some decent fishing spots. Make this a printable day-by-day plan and include estimated costs for budgeting purposes, highlighting meals when groceries will be needed. I could have gone on to say, provide also some alternatives in case the weather is bad, or if we just don't feel like going out. Okay, the more specific you are, the more helpful it is. And here's the results. A 6-page printable itinerary. I planned your vacation this summer. You're welcome. Nick, would you help pass these out?
We're going to Seattle or Portland.
Nope, you're going to Bemidji.
Is the statue there?
Well, I don't know, actually. I know. Well, I was watching, there's a guy named Ryan Hall on YouTube. Actually really great to watch for meteorology, and he had the live stream on YouTube as the storm came through this summer. He's like, oh my gosh, this dot is going like right over the state. And all of as soon as he said that dot's going right over the state, and boom, the live feed cut out, and you're like, oh. I talked with people, though, up in Bemidji, and they did estimate there's a few million trees that fell down in that storm that they're just not going to clean up because it's out in the woods. They only cleaned up around the city. Okay, take a look at this itinerary. Take some time, browse through, highlight what stands out to you. Work through this together. Okay, the prompt at the top. Perfect. Here's a clean, printable, budget-aware version of the trip with realistic cost estimations for a family with young kids. I'll assume that you're talking about a family of 4, 2 kids under 12, with 2 adults. Travel between Sunday and Saturday. So if you really wanted to be more specific, you could have given it specific dates. Driving trip, you want to do like a driving tour instead of just the stationary location. A mid-range budget with motels or simple cabins. A mix of eating out and picnic meals. Okay, all costs are estimates, not worst case. I lean conservative so you don't get surprised. Okay, and then you go into a 7-day itinerary, planning out like, oh, here's a great place. Chippewa National Forest, short trails, picnic near Ruth Lake or Forest Overlook. For food, you could do groceries or a casual lunch stop. And then it gives you the estimated cost for what it's going to be that day for food and gas. Every once in a while, like in Grand Rapids on day 5, it gives you a specific spot to eat, like find a cafe, and you can have dinner at a place called the Northern Roots Eatery. You're welcome for mentioning, just a live shout out for the live stream. The back page, especially worth taking a look at. Look at it. Total trip cost summary, estimated, and then it gives you the full budget breakdown. This is a lot better than just plan me a trip to Minnesota, right? So the more specific your prompt, the better results you're going to get. And the more time you tinker with it, the more of that personality that's on that bot, the more you learn, like, okay, I need to be more specific when I ask about this stuff. And I need to be more clear when I ask in this direction. And you learn how to use it the more you use it. So as parents and as people overseeing next generation, I think if we know how to use the tools that we have access to, we can better teach our kids how to use those tools in a healthy way. I love doing this kind of trip itinerary. The number of times I've generated the dream trip, like, okay, I want to rent an RV, and I want to travel between Rocky Mountain National Park all the way up to Jasper, Alberta. Plan me a 3-week trip based on living in an RV and all that. Love using AI to generate this. I just think it's interesting because, hey, there's a lot of stuff that it'll find and things I wouldn't have considered. And hey, here's this hot spring over here that you gotta definitely stop at least a couple hours, and you would have just driven past it. But if you just use AI as a platform where you could just copy and paste, you're wasting this tool. It's the equivalent of using this as a hammer. It works, but it's not a hammer, right? All right. So we took a look. How did ChatGPT do? And you can take more of a look at that at your own free time. We need to look at what we learn and how we learn it here. Okay, so I skipped over some of my outline here, but that's okay. So AI is being used in some ways. We talked about homework help, instructional help. A lot of ways it's really good. And at the same time, you can use that definitely to outright cheat and plagiarize. Okay, you can use AI for image generation to help you with a presentation like I did, right? That koala was a pretty cool koala, right? Undeniably. Or you could use that to generate pornographic images. And you can use that to imprint somebody's face onto that. And unfortunately, that has, in many ways, included minors, which brings up all sorts of other litigations. So I also do a podcast, and AI is able to sample my voice, and all of a sudden somebody could steal my voice and make it sound like I said something that I didn't say, or they could impose my face on something where now all of a sudden I'm incriminated for a crime that I was nowhere near. And you can use, I'm not promoting that, I'm condemning it. Right? But this is the danger, the tool for good, and also an incredible danger that we have. You can use it for music composition. There's a guy online called Seth Drums, and he generates music, and he drums along to it. Right? In a lot of ways, actually, he generates some real good music. Yeah. So bad prompts result in bad results. So what we learn and how we learn it. Here's where we come into, there was a stage where this was what we learned. Human history. Okay, we're going to rewind the clock a few centuries and say how we learned, what we learned was based on where we lived. If you live in a farming community, guess what? You're going to be a farmer. Or somebody that helps out farmers. So blacksmith, a tailor, or something along those lines, or a trading outpost. But you're going to learn based on following a master. You got the master-apprentice relationship, right? And then, all of a sudden, there was this little invention called the printing press, and what we learned increased. Because literacy rates went from almost nothing to now we have all this access to books that we never had before. And now you start to fill out these buildings, like so many books that you start to fill out and turn into these huge libraries. This is in Ireland, by the way. This isn't AI generated. This actually exists in the world, and this picture gives me hope. I want to go there sometime. Those of you who just love the smell of old bookshops can smell this photo, right? And some of you are like, oh, I'm going on right now and booking that flight to Ireland as soon as we're done here. It changes what we learn, because now you don't just have to be a blacksmith or a farmer. Now your opportunities start to open up a little bit more, because the printing press is a tool that changes how we learn. Okay, and then we invented this thing called the internet, which basically takes that whole library and gives you access to it so long as you have the hardware and a phone jack, right? Cue the dial-up tone music, right? No, don't. Oh, no. I've been making weird noise. I'm going to need you to do that again, Mike.
It woke up the neighbor.
Right, right. I remember very clearly, like the main thing that we went on our farm was to look at the radar from our elevator webpage. It had a regional radar, and my dad would, hey, Craig calling the farm at 931 to the farmhouse. I need a weather forecast, just a check on the radar. And my mom, 5 minutes later, would say, it looks like we're fine, go ahead and keep harvesting, right? Because that's how long it took to load that. And I remember the day where we got high-speed internet where all of a sudden it was like 30 seconds later and I was like, wow, you're not going to believe this, but you're set to go, and we rain probably later tonight, but get going. You know? It changed the way we learn, because now you don't have to travel to Ireland to get that information. Now, if you have a computer and a phone jack, you have access to it. And then we invented this little device that puts the internet in our pockets. And now it changes the way we learn. Because now you don't have to memorize who the 12th president of the United States is. You have immediate access to find out that it's, what's his name? You know? I don't know. It's actually, I'm being legitimate. You know, good old Mr. President, what's his name? It gives you access. And after that, we developed these chatbots that now takes all of the libraries put on the internet, and it funnels all of the information. And what AI does is it gives you an overview based on your prompt, and it gives you just that little sample overviewing all of this. This is why it's incredibly dangerous to use AI as a means to learn. Because what AI fails to do is to give meaning to the information that it's giving you. It gives you information, but it does not give you meaning, right? So when I generated that picture about Minnesota, and it's saying like, hey, what season to go to, we saw like calm. Well, what was the words that it used? Let me just zip back here. Quiet, muddy, but cheaper. That's accurate, but it fails to convey meaning of what it's like to drive over frozen mud and how miserable it can be in March in this state. If you were to say, hey, give me the average weather forecast for the Midwest, it'll give you that information, but what good is that going to do? Like if I said, what's the average temperature in Minnesota, what's the weather like today in Minnesota? Temperatures range depending on where you're at. If you're up at Grand Portage on the North Shore, it's going to be way different than like across the state at Pipestone. You know, it's good. It provides no meaning. Right? But it doesn't take account into the wind either, right? All of a sudden we have meaning because we've lived here, but if somebody just is just generically giving a prompt, there's no meaning behind that information, which is why you have to think critically when you're using artificial intelligence. Faster does not necessarily equal better or richer. I think it's the big key component of using this. It's fast and it's great, but there's value in having that moment when you're at the grocery checkout, right? That interaction. There's value there that we don't appreciate. And I think it's value that we're slowly learning, because you know what? If DoorDash it can just deliver my groceries, I don't have to go out at all. Especially for people that are just like, let me ask you this. What is this? It's a cell phone, right? So why is there a growing number of people that prefer Snapchat or texting over actually making a phone call with this? They would rather text than have a phone conversation, because they just don't know how to have a phone conversation. We're losing the art of having a meaningful conversation with other people, right? And the more that we progress down this road of isolation, it's forming and shaping how we live and how the next generation lives as well. Because and here's the danger with the chatbot relationships, right? If you can, if you're just out for sexual gratification, a lot of those chatbots are saying like, hey, I'm way easier, and I'm not judgmental, and I'll do whatever you want, baby. And I'm sorry that you had to hear me say that. But it's you generate that, and it's like I'll send you videos, and I'll send you photos of whatever you want, and all of a sudden that meaningful sexual relationship that God gives us is diminished down into some generated digital input, right? And now if you're only out for something, and I feel like I can say this because I realize I'm young, but I'm also at a point in our marriage where there's more to your relationship than just sex. But if that's all that you're getting, and if that's all that you're learning, and it's like, well, I can just pursue this as much as I want, yeah. If you need to go, completely understand. No, you're good. Watch the rest of this too. And if, I realize people have schedules, and we're going, what time are we even at? Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go.
Can you repeat what you just did the last half hour?
No. The big question, when you get a prompt, when you see anything, if it's news related or anything, the best thing you can do is says who. Critical thinking is a lost art, and we need to find it again. So if you get a prompt, says who. So when you're doing research using, like, I have no idea what to write for this paper, you can use AI to say, like, generate me like if you're wanting more, the video that I'm going to send talks about, I want information about a black hole. So you can say, tell me information about a black hole. It'll do that. But it's better if you were to go on and say, who is the leading researchers for the science behind black holes? And it'll generate that list of researchers. And then you can use that answer to say, using these researchers, tell me, and their findings, give me their research and a credible alternative source that contradicts them, right? So, says who, right? So, you got to think critically, but that takes more energy, and it requires you to not be lazy. All right, here's a little bit of what we're looking at too. What they found is that when it comes to learning, the use of AI is increasing as it is for our students. You're going to have students discovered, based on Education Week study in October 25, students felt less connected to their teachers because they were using AI. They found that it weakened the critical thinking and research skills of students, and they were anticipating data breaches, sexual harassment, bullying, and treating students unfairly. The other things that they saw, it helped the teachers be more efficient, because now we get to use this tool to help us plan out lessons and curriculum. Decent tools available to detect if AI is being used to cheat. What are some good ground rules for using AI? And here's where we come into the practice. I think it's on us as adults to demonstrate what critical thinking looks like. This would require you to start knowing how to use AI, and in your use, actually show your kids, here's what to do, and here's how to use this, and also telling them there's some significant dangers, and you can do that in a way, I think, without being explicit, without opening them up to even more dangers. Say, what did Dad mean when he said that? Oh my goodness, and all of a sudden here they are down that rabbit hole. Okay, it's on us to be critical, but being a critical thinker doesn't mean just like flat out not trusting anyone, right? Don't live a life of just blatant skepticism, but also be asking who says, right? Find a platform, familiarize yourself with it, how to use it. Practice using good and specific prompts with generic inquiries, like we did, right? Your trip to Minnesota, here's a generic request. Practice what it looks like to be more specific. And the more you use it, the more proficient you will get, and the better you'll be able to use that tool. I would just say especially look at Copilot on Microsoft and what that looks like for students to be able to use that, what that looks like. This research, these suggestions also came from Lifeway research from January 8th this year. So within the last month, recognize that AI isn't not just a distant influence. It's here, it's now, it's in the world we're living in, and I think we all recognize that. The next thing they say here, claim your role as the shaper of worldviews. Don't just let AI inform, right? As bad as you feel for those parents that lost their child, there's no but there. You feel terrible. And as a parent in that situation, I sympathize with them to be able to say, if I knew that, if that happened to my kid, I would question what I did wrong, where they couldn't come to me. And I couldn't help shape them. Why did they feel that they had to go over there? Right? Claim, I think, appropriately, not as a power of dominance, right? But to claim your role as the shaper of their worldviews. There's points in AI where we just kind of want them to be true. There was a video a few months ago of bunnies jumping out of trampoline. Like somebody's Ring doorbell, their security footage caught them. And everybody's like, that's adorable. It's AI. And because we're used to grainy footage of a security camera in the dark, we didn't question it because, yeah, that's what they look like. And we wanted it to be true because look how adorable it is. It's AI. And it scared people because they couldn't tell it was AI. Recently, Kamchatka, Russia had huge snowstorms. And there was pictures that looked like that. And boy, it's like, I want that to be true because look at how much snow that is. That's amazing. That is also AI generated. A lot of pictures that came out. There was a lot of snow. People were definitely tunneling to find their cars. So there's points here where you got to think critically. Just because something like, oh, I want this to be true, doesn't mean that it is. All right, so.
Why are we lying about that? That is the bizarre thing.
Why are we lying about that?
Why are we lying about that? Why are we saying this much?
Because we've monetized how much we've put so much value, and this another talk for another time. The impact that social media has had on our brain chemistry. We have become addicted to how many likes, reposts, shares, followers that we have, and if we can exaggerate the truth. That's extreme. And if I get 10,000 moms asking their oldest son, "Is this like? Look at this! Like that's AI, mom." You know what? Who cares? People are talking about it. People are sharing my content, and that means money. That means value, right? Why do we lie about that? You're dead right. It's incredibly idiotic, and at the same time, like
We fall for it.
we fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Like there was a point where my mom showed me a video of a record-breaking watermelon being harvested, and out in the field they were cutting it up with a chainsaw. And I had to tell her, "I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sharing this story. I'll make it up to you somewhere." So they're cutting up this watermelon, and I had to tell her it's AI. She said, "Well, how can you tell?" I said, "Well, for starters, the guy pulls the chainsaw out of his pocket." The second thing is that like the chainsaw is immediately, like as soon as it starts cutting into the rind, it doesn't go through the rind, it immediately starts pulling out like watermelon pulp. Like if you know what to look for, the chainsaw out of the pocket was something you should have caught right away, right? So the third point, you got to prioritize that authentic relationship. You have to teach kids how to build those relationships. And speaking as a pastor with a definite bias here, you can't find those a great place to find those relationships is at church with other people of all ages, right? What does next generation ministry look like? Forget the age. Age doesn't matter. I mean, it does because of learning capabilities, but when it comes to how do we minister to the kids in our church, forget that they're kids. Disciple them, right? That's what Scripture commands. Connect your kids with other people. Go out of your way to give them that social interaction unplugged. There's actually a really good way for you to do that if you follow that itinerary that ChatGPT gave you for the summer. I keep joking about that. Celebrate good things rather than perfect products. I love that here. So model what a good work ethic good work ethic and show value in flaws. Do have the Bob Ross mentality, right? It's not a mistake. Just a happy little accident. Tremendous, right? Celebrate the flaws in the value of created things. And also make time for conversations about digital ethics. This goes to what you're talking about here with the concern about the sexuality, right? Where you are providing your kids with what it looks like to have digital ethics, where there is value in a human being. And if you are going to boil a human being down to what they give you, that is selfish and worth calling out for what it is. Right? So how to discern what is good and what crosses a line. And you won't know that unless you're actively showing your kids that you're open to dialogue when it comes to their use of this tool. I know that's a lot, and I know I went way over time, but we started late, so I'm fine. Again, this is something that we've talked about a lot. I think just myself with the parents at our church. Grateful for a chance to talk to you just a little bit about this, and I again recognize there's a lot of avenues, and I hope I answered your question about the sexuality component of this. Was there more that you had regarding that? Because you asked it way at the beginning, and I just want to make sure that I'm.
I think that as an older person, I am not as tied to this computer world. I read books and that kind of thing, but our kids and grandkids are going to be doing things like this, and so I'm just curious about what are the dangers out there. I mean, I think we're using AI all the time without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And how much, like I was giving my daughter an example. People will post things and they think they're legit.
Right.
And then they're an AI generated thing, and especially people my age that don't realize that wasn't real, and it sort of wrecks your credibility.
Well, and also, the concern being that, these kids are now growing up in an environment where nothing is, trustworthy. You have to question every single thing. There's no foundation.
And everyone is yelling, and no one is satisfied.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have any, resources for digital ethics? Do you have anywhere to have those? If you're having conversations about digital ethics, maybe use them.
There's a great platform, and it's a. Well, I say platform because it is. I have a little booklet on your table, the CPYU parent page, a resource for you to grab. There's a lot of stuff when you go onto here. There's a tab on their website. So our church, we get these as a monthly newsletter. It goes through different components of youth culture and the like, and it kind of gives you a pulse on what's going on in the world of teenagers, and it's meant to help parents and grandparents, anybody interested with students. CPYU.org, there's a tab on the top that says resources, and you can search based on topics, and there's so many great resources that they've written, and also links to other resources as well. So specific ethics, I'm going to point you in that direction, because that'll give you, I think once you start going down that rabbit hole, you'll find links in other places to continue your specific inquiry, well, tell me more about this, and help me find out more. I think all of our ethics and our morals stem back to, speaking pastorally, how God created us. So to answer what this looks like from the perspective of a biblical worldview, to say, okay, as the foundation, how does this inform my use of this tool? Regarding your as a grandparent, as you said, your kids and your grandkids more into this than you are, right? Older generations not so computer literate. How do we show value, right? There was a line that someone said, I'm going to paraphrase it because it just works. You don't know that you're only eating junk food until you're given actual food. You don't know that you're starving until you start being fed. You can live off of Hot Pockets and pizza rolls and Pop-Tarts, right? But that does not a healthy life make, right? So when you actually start getting actual food, that's when you see there's value there. And I think when it translates to relationships, you burn out if you're only focused on the physical aspects, which I think is all that. There's chatbots that will give you that physical aspect of that relationship. There's chatbots that will give you that mental relationship of being able to have a conversation, and I use heavy quotes on that, right? To say you can have a conversation with that platform, but it's not the real thing. And there's value in having a genuine relationship where you know the person you're talking to is not just automatically going to love you no matter what, right? That they're just automatically going to agree with you. The guy who writes this, Dr. Walt Mueller, relationship advice he gave is like, marry someone who's not impressed by you, right? Yeah, it's great advice, right? So there's value in having a conversation with someone who's not immediately impressed by who you are. And until you show kids like that there's value here, and until they see that for themselves, they're just not going to know, which comes to the third point, right? Connect them with real people. Show them the value of that kind of relationship. Where someone, instead of going to the computer for relief, like in a moment of grief, instead of going like, I just had a rough day, they have a friend who just reaches out on a text and like, hey, you want to jump on PlayStation and shoot some aliens? We don't even have to talk. Let's just spend some time together. Man, there's value there, right? So, yeah.
I think what I'm going to do here is, this gets overused all the time, but this has been a fire hydrant experience for you. It has been for me as well. Dan, we could do this for more hours.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, would you give a round of applause? Thank you, Dan. And then, come on, thanks.